It's about being a lifelong learner and realizing that you shouldn't have everything figured out. If you had everything figured out, life would be hella boring because everybody takes their first step. Everybody you look up to struggled at some point, had the same emotions that you did, but it's about that choice of whether or not you're going to push forward and just make the most of it. Yo, happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Mindful Mundane podcast. First of all, I just want to say thanks to you. It seems like you guys have been enjoying these podcasts lately. It's kind of crazy because these are like the most viewed videos on my YouTube channel, which is interesting and a whole separate topic on its own, but I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for tuning in and showing love to the podcast. This has been a really awesome creative outlet, and just knowing that I'm able to connect with you guys on this deeper level means a lot to me, and I hope that it means a lot to you as well. If you're new here and this is your first time watching this or listening to this or seeing my face in general, my name is Ashton, and I like to create content around intentional living, self-growth, and mindfulness. And I really, at the core of everything, am just trying to make this world a better place. If that means a little tiny dent, then so be it. That'll make me happy. Today, I want to focus on the individuals who are committed. They're dedicated to, making a difference for themselves. They don't want to follow the normal path in their family. They want to be the odd one out, and maybe they don't have somebody to talk to, or people who support what they're doing because it's so different, and maybe you just feel alone. If that's you, then I totally get it. And I can understand how difficult it is to cultivate patience during these hard times. For me personally, I can relate on that a lot because I feel like with my family, there isn't necessarily someone who I can relate to a lot. I have 4 older sisters, and they're all doing their own thing. They all have their families. They all had their first child by, I want to say at least, or at the latest, 26, 27. And I'm 27. And so I just can't relate a lot. I don't have kids to talk about. I don't have, I guess you could say I have dogs to talk about, and that could be pretty equivalent to kids. But overall, there's just not much to relate on, meaning that there's not so much for me to go back and forth with somebody on besides my girlfriend, just in general. And for the people that I do have in my life that I can bounce ideas off of and talk about this whole entrepreneurship journey with, I'm super grateful for. However, I know that not everybody has that, and I can understand that you're trying to build something for yourself. You really want to make a name for yourself, but I think it is so important to remind yourself to be patient no matter what, because times will be tough, and that's sort of inevitable. And you have to remind yourself that the name of the game is consistency. Consistency is all that matters, and it's not about having all of the answers figured out right now. You just got to do the best with what you got, and you have to keep doing the best with what you got. It's a constant battle, or not battle, but it's a constant balance between reflecting, taking action, and then reflecting again to gain new information or insights on whatever it is that maybe you didn't see beforehand, and just constantly going back and forth between this cycle of reflecting and taking action, reflecting and taking action. And I understand how difficult it can be to be patient. Like, goodness, I just wish that this would happen already. I wish that I didn't have to worry about this anymore. I wish that I could just be financially free. I wish that I, had a team who could help me do all this stuff. And, if only I had all that, then things would be all the better. Something I'm really focusing on and hoping that you can focus on as well, and we can do this together, is to really just appreciate the smaller things in life, the mundane activities of life. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. That's why it's called the Mindful Mundane, is to remind ourselves to appreciate the mundane activities of life, because of the fact that it is not about these big grandiose moments that our lives change, or this huge vacation where we can finally relax, or this beautiful destination. It's about the journey. It's about who you're cultivating as a character right now. It's about learning. It's about being a lifelong learner and realizing that you shouldn't have everything figured out. If you had everything figured out, life would be hella boring, so boring. And it's easy to get the emotions wrapped up into, maybe not feeling worthy enough, or maybe feeling dumb, or feeling like you're not capable of accomplishing things. And that's just honestly so much BS. Like, these are just stories that we tell ourselves that are not helpful in the grand scheme of life, because everybody takes their first step. Everybody you look up to struggled at some point. Everybody you look up to had the same emotions that you did. But it's about that choice. It's about the choice of whether or not you're going to push forward and just make the most of it. Something I've been thinking about quite a bit is this concept of the dip. So the dip is basically a point on this graph. If you can see it, I hope you can see it. If you can't see the video and you're not watching, basically it's a graph with an X and Y axis, of course. And on the X axis is energy. On the Y axis is results. And whenever we start something new, we're so excited, and we've, started on this new journey. It's easy for us to make progress, right? Like getting your website up. You buy the website, you figure out whatever it is that you want to sell on the website, whatever, right? That you make a progress in the beginning. Then you start going after it and you make a little progress. And then you notice that the energy you're giving it doesn't reciprocate the results that you're receiving. And it's easy to get discouraged in these moments and to think like, oh, all the things that I'm doing right now aren't worth it. This is a waste of my time. Getting really frustrated and just exhausted of being consistent and showing up every day and not seeing the needle move forward, or at least feeling like the needle doesn't move forward. But what this graph represents is that it's natural for every creative, for every entrepreneur, for every great business, for everything to go through a dip, meaning that you're still giving it all this energy as time goes on, but the results are going down. We're not receiving so much ROI. And this is where the self-sabotage can creep in. And this is where you have to make the choice of whether or not you want to keep going. Because right after you get through this dip, inevitably you give something so much energy and you show up consistently, you keep showing up, inevitably you're going to seek results as time goes on. By the way, this graph, I haven't read the book, but this graph is inspired by Seth Godin. There's a whole book about this that I want to read someday. I just haven't yet. But it's so important to remind yourself that you're just in the dip. You still have, hopefully 10 more years at the least of giving this a shot. And if you calculate that in your mind and you say to yourself, if I were to just keep doing what I'm doing consistently, reflecting and taking action with the new information that I have, it's inevitable that whatever I give this attention, this energy, this care and love to, it's going to grow as time goes on. I like to think of it as invisible progress. Like, you're making progress, it's just not visible. And whether or not you're making progress, yeah, I know it can be helpful and inspiring and motivating, but it shouldn't matter whether or not you make insane progress today or tomorrow. It's the fact that you're choosing to do this because you love it, which brings up something else. While it is important to understand the dip and to understand its relationship with your success, it's equally more important that you look inward and make sure that whatever it is that you're giving all of this energy to is something that you actually want to do. It is so easy to think that someone else's success is exactly what you could see yourself doing. Trust me, I've been there a million times, especially with social media. But it's even more important to ask yourself what you want. Because the truth is, you give energy to anything and you dedicate yourself to anything, it's inevitable that you're going to accomplish something someday. But you have to make sure that you're doing the thing that you want to be doing. Because if you're going about this process and you're going through the dip and you're dealing with these emotions, well, let's say you finally do accomplish that thing. Is it going to fulfill you? Is it going to feel like a worthwhile reward? Are you sure that this is the path that you want to go on? It's really important that you make sure that answer is your answer. Someone else's success won't always lead you to your destiny. And by no means am I saying that another person's success is something that is impossible to you. I'm just saying that it better be well worth it for you to deal with the dip and to deal with all of the complications that are invisible throughout this journey that you've embarked on. And if you do feel like this is the direction for you, you are feeling like, I am on the right path, this is exactly what I want to be doing right now, then just don't rush it. It's easy to think that things would just be so much better if you had it all right now. But one day, your 60-year-old version of yourself is going to be looking back and thinking, damn, look at all the progress I made outside of the thing that I was focusing on. Look at the character that I cultivated. Look at all the trials and tribulations that I'm actually thankful for. Look at all the lessons that I learned without even realizing. Look at all these beautiful little moments of struggle where I didn't even know what I was capable of. If only I could go back to those moments and just experience a day, experience a moment walking the animals. Be back at that apartment that we grew so much in, which I think is also just another reminder to appreciate the moments that you have right now. Because you don't have the past. You don't have the future. All you have is right now. We don't always choose our feelings, but we can at least guide our feelings in a specific direction, at least in my opinion. Whatever you choose to feel or want to feel about that is completely up to you. But you can't do anything about the past. You can't control the future. So appreciate the process of growth, the invisible progress. Take it slow. No need to rush. Take things one step at a time. Don't try to take a huge long step up to the 5th step. Because what you're going to do, you're going to pull a hammy. You're going to pull something. And it ain't going to feel good. And your brain's not going to feel good. Your mind's not going to like it. Your body's not going to like it. Nothing is going to like it, especially your spirit. And it's important to nurture your spirit as you go through this growth journey. So with that being said, as always, live your life mindfully. Appreciate what you have now. Never stop growing, never stop learning, and never stop pushing yourself, but also don't forget what you have now, because the future you will look back and wish that you appreciated things a little bit more. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast, guys. If you haven't watched my recent video, I would love for you to go check it out. And last but not least, the doors are opening very soon for the organic video formula. We're about to wrap up week 6 of the course for the current founding members. And so doors will be opening up soon. If you're interested in taking your personal brand to the next level through video content, then go ahead and head to the description and click on that link. And I'll make sure to keep you posted on all the new special announcements. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.